Warhammer 40k is known for highly detailed models, but sometimes we also have to take steps to add in a little bit more. Today I'm going to show you about how I drill out gun barrels to get a very consistent result. Whether you're someone new to this topic or you're someone a little more experienced who just wants to see another perspective, this video is for you. This is your hobby 1-up. So today we're talking about drilling out your gun barrels. I have a model starting off a little bit more like this, and I'm gonna go to a model more like this. In fact, this is one of the ones we used. Got some old 6th edition easy to build Space Marines, but this technique can be used on any type of model. You just need to check the diameter of the drill bits that you'll end up using. And also you can use the technique for other things such as adding magnets, so which I have a video on that you can check out in the playlist on the channel. But gonna go over some tools. Gonna do a little conversationally, but we'll get right into it and go through the techniques. First off, a couple of tools that I use for this. I also use all these for magnetization, which is a metal pick type tool. This I use for marking initially the spot that I'm gonna be drilling. I use a sanding stick. This is different grits. I mark it ahead of time which grit that I'm going to have stuck with double-sided tape to these. This is just a hobby craft sort of wood stick that I use. You can use anything, but I do recommend building something like this for when you're working. As always, you'll want your hobby knife. You're going to need to potentially cut or shave or even scrape down some mold line. Definitely will have mold line, so very good. I use the back of the hobby knife blade for that. Your main tool is going to be something like this, a pin vise. Pin vise is something that you can put a drill bit in that's going to match the smaller size for what you need. I have here for my Marine gun barrels a 1mm diameter drill bit. This is from a Dremel type tool set, or if you have like any other like high-speed rotary tool, this will fit in the pin vise. I recommend the pin vise and not the rotary tool because you want that, you don't want speed, you want control, okay? To do this type of thing. Speed will just often cause extra potential for mistakes. This is what I'd recommend for most of my Marine guns and stuff like that. You can use whatever size is going to match the project that you're working on though, so you'll just need to check that out and see what works best for you. Some testing ahead of time is definitely recommended. Working with a model like this, I'm just going to get my eyes on it and see what I need to do exactly for the surface. Now this one is kind of in need of a little bit of cleanup. I'm actually going to remove the gun from this model. This is one of the old easy to builds from back in the day. And so you just get a bolt gun like this. It hasn't been cleaned up as well as I would do nowadays. And so what I need to look at is actually going to be stuff that you'll see right off the sprue in a lot of cases. You're going to have some mold lines. So we're going to clean that off. And I'm able to lightly slide the back of the blade along my mold lines and effectively remove the majority, if not all, of the mold line. We are just going to focus on the end of the gun here because that's all we're really looking at, but as you're doing your models for fully building them, of course you'll want to get rid of as many mold lines as you possibly can, hopefully with the goal of getting rid of all of the visible ones. One of the things I didn't mention, but I do highly recommend having, is just a toothbrush that's just for your hobby. This is a cheap toothbrush that I set aside just for working on hobby. When you're scraping things like mold lines or doing sanding, this is a good way to clean off the part that you're working on and get that stuff out of your way because you're not going to need it. So now that we have that done, I'm actually going to give this another little quick run with the sandpaper. So this is where a sanding stick comes in really handy because it's rigid and it's flat. And I'm going to get a perfectly smooth flat surface when I work with this. So I'm just going to get that perfect. I'm going to use the 400 grit here, and I'm going to go straight across. And here we've got our marking tool. Now this is the part where it's going to look very similar to our steps for magnetizing, because this is pretty much the same. We're going to take this marking tool, we're going to find a center point for where we want that barrel to be drilled. And we're just going to lightly pressure and add a mark. This is hopefully going to help you get consistent results by giving you a starting point. Okay, we're going to eyeball that as best we can, see if it's center. It looks like it's a little bit too far to one side, so I'm going to go just to the other side of that. And I'm going to kind of widen that mark a tiny bit towards the side I want it to be on. and I think that that is looking better. You can load up your drill bit into your pin vise, starting that and getting a little bit of pressure, very light, and seeing where my hole starts at. And if it still looks like it's pretty center, I'll keep going with it. Now if it looks like it needs to move, I'll change the orientation of the bit. Here where it's straight up and down, I want it to go slightly to the left of the screen as we're looking at it. So I'm going to actually tilt that this way and do another little bit of light drilling, very light, and then as I take that off, it'll start moving that hole this direction. We don't want to go too deep. We just want to angle that drill bit the direction we want the hole to travel. We want to keep it nice and light. Okay, there we go. Now we're starting to see that that is moving over even more center. And as long as we're doing it light, it's not going to wallow out the hole. It's not going to get too large, and you're not going to get too much of an elliptical shape or an oval shape. And then we have already pretty much finished drilling out the barrel of that gun. So I really hope you found that useful, whether you are a beginner or somebody more experienced who's just always looking to learn new techniques or see how someone else does it. Would really look forward to hearing from you guys in the comments down below, what you like, what you maybe didn't like, if you've got any tips or tricks that you want to give me even. But that is all for this video. Bye for now.